better than what the writers in the future. I don't even know how to describe what I'm trying to say, but like I usually don't like when you're first like, oh, it's not canon. I'm like, man, I don't really care if it's a good story. It's a good story to me. But usually the issue is I would say 80% of the time the filler or not the filler, the non-canon part wasn't better at all. But like Game of Thrones took some liberties and they made some decisions with canon, and I actually was like, all right, it's still a good story. And they're like, oh well, if you found out this is from the books, this person's actually not liked. And I'm like, well, I like him in the story in the show, and they wrote it well, so I'm cool with it. But I'd say 80% of the time, it's the non-canon isn't good. It is something different. It is. Somebody just brought up something not being canon or whatever about Naruto, and I was just explaining that it's not really that big of a deal. Non-canon isn't a super big deal to me until it is. I would say 80% of the time when they change something that was canon to the show, it annoys me because usually if they're following a manga or following a book or following a story that's already been fleshed out, if you just remove something, you might be creating a plot hole later that you then have to compensate for. It's almost like lying, right? It's almost like lying about the story. You then have to create a new thing because of the That's the only issue I have with stuff that's not canon. I don't really care. Like I said, Game of Thrones did some whoops. Game of Thrones did some stuff, and I didn't really care that it wasn't canon because whatever they wrote into the show, like I was like, it's good, and they're like, oh, that's not the way that character operated at all. In the books, he was actually really unliked character and bad, and blah blah blah. I'm like, well, I mean, it works for the show, so I'm cool. But then also, you're thinking about at the same time, some of the liberties they had with the non-canon stuff was genuinely bad. Bad, 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 bad. And it was because it got to a point to where, like, all right, your non-canon stuff has to be compensated for now. Your non-canon stuff has to be compensated for with bad story development because, you know, it doesn't fit where the author is going or was going. Yeah, well, Keikor, thank you for the sub, brother. True plot holes are crazy when you go around changing things. Well, the issue is like the thing they change in that moment might be good for the show, and they're like, yo, maybe this will really connect with audiences, and blah, 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 which is fine. But then all of a sudden, like I said, later, you know, as like the manga or the book or whatever they took it from develops, it's like, well, that change you made no longer makes sense because, you know, this happened in the book now, and that won't make sense with what you did to this character, and it's just hard to... It's hard to stay fluid with a story that's already being written by somebody else if you take the liberty to go non-canon. The only way it makes sense, like, overall, is when... The only way it makes sense in general is when, like, MCU does it, because there's so many different comics and so many different stories and iterations of these stories. It doesn't really matter if you go non-canon for those. Doesn't really matter if you go non-canon for different aspects of, like, comics, because there's, like, so many iterations of it and whatnot. Are we all caught up? Actually, yeah, I will gladly never talk about One Piece again. Yo, don't rile up the One Piece fans. Don't rile them up. Don't rile them up. Listen, I know it's a good show. It is a good show. I just don't have time for it. Don't rile them up. Don't rile him up. Listen. You cannot like it and have reasons for not liking it. Similar. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Slowed him. Sorry, mate. Yo, Form, thank you for the follow on the stream. Nah, but like, what I don't want people to do, because all of this is subjective, whether you like it or not, right? All of this is subjective on whether you like it or not. Like, I don't want to turn it into like, well, One Piece sucks. It's like, well, yeah, you think One Piece sucks, right? And I know we're just BMing each other, but I don't want to shit on like somebody's favorite show. Just like if somebody came in, well, I think your show sucks. Like, okay, cool, man. Cool, man. Edgy. Not saying anybody in here is trying to do that. I'm just saying in the past when we've talked about anime specifically, people get, like, very defensive of their shows. Nobody in here is doing that, but, like, we've literally had arguments where I had to start having people be like, yo, chill. There was literally a guy... What was the conversation? Hold on. What was the conversation? What was the conversation? There was a conversation where people were talking about power levels or perceived power levels on Dragon Ball in general. Power scaling or something like that, or something, and what's the word for like giving somebody power just for the sake of giving them power? And somebody was talking about that, and they literally got like so salty about it. They like were literally like personally insulting the other person. It was like, brother, what are you doing? Like, relax. What was it? It was somebody who was like talking shit to Mantos or something. It was somebody was talking to Mantos, and they said he was like, they started using personal insults. Oh, unfortunate. Oh, unfortunate. Unfortunate. I don't remember what they said. I don't remember what they said. But I literally had to be like, yo, what are you guys talking about? And they're like, oh, he just called him like subhuman for literally almost like that. They literally called him subhuman or something like that for having a difference of opinion on perceived power levels in Dragon Ball. And I was like, can you fucking relax? That guy got banned. He was somewhat new to the stream. Because I was like, yo, chill. And he's like, no. I was like, all right, see ya. It's as easy as it is, I guess. I was like, yo, chill, man. Like, you guys are talking about perceived power levels in a fake show. Like, oh, shit. Like, relax.
Attack right lane.
Bad ult by me. Bad ult. To change I might try the live action One Piece. Yeah, I'm gonna watch live action One Piece for sure. Somebody also did say they're coming out with a One Piece like remastered type thing where they redo a lot of the early art, which wasn't that great, to be fair. It was like the early 90s or something like that, so they're going to redo that while also removing a lot of the filler episodes, basically bump it from 1,200 down to like 650 episodes instead, just giving you like the main plot lines, which you do that and you know, we're good. You do that and you know, we're me and One Piece are on good standings here. You give me like 600 instead of 1,200, 650 instead of 1,200, whatever. I want a solo Jiren show. I would like to see some. I would like. I don't know. Jiren so far in the Tournament of Power is pretty one-dimensional, so you could maybe create something that I'd be interested in. I actually was a little disappointed at first about the Dragon Ball new show that wasn't a continuation of the Dragon Ball Super's story. I was gonna be interested in that. I was really interested in a continuation of events post Dragon Ball Super. But I haven't watched any of the new Dragon Ball yet. They're just waiting for them to finish the manga arcs to post the new Dragon Ball Super. All right, bet. I'm glad they are continuing it, though, because Dragon Ball Super it was my favorite arc outside of maybe some of the arcs during Dragon Ball Z. I didn't like Dragon Ball GT. Dragon Ball was okay. Dragon Ball Z was solid. Dragon Ball Super was great, in my opinion. I just really like the Tournament of Power arc. There are people who didn't like the Tournament of Power arc at all, which, like I said, it's all subjective, so it is what it is, but I really liked the, I really liked the Tournament of Power arc. Really liked it. Chris, I don't know if you know what happens post-Super, but it's so cool. I have no fucking clue, brother. The way I even got into anime, I'll tell you guys a quick story. So, I didn't really watch any anime growing up outside of, like, Pokemon, Dragon Ball, you know, like a little bit. Like a little bit, right? I didn't really watch any. Like, even my friends would like try and get me to watch anime, but none of my friends were really into it either. When I'm saying anime, I'm not like, you know, I never got even asked to watch anime. They just asked, like, people would just ask if I did, and I was like, no, I don't really watch it. I don't really like any. And this is gonna sound insulting, but I was like, no, I don't really watch any cartoons or anything like that, right? I even called it cartoons, right? That's pretty disrespectful. That, like, right? That's pretty disrespectful to anime. I literally called them cartoons, right? And not because, like, I was, like, some moral high ground or anything like that. I was just, like, I just don't watch those type of shows. Like, right? I need a very, oh, fuck. I need a very specific set of things.
Your team has destroyed a left enemy tower.
I need a very specific set of things to have me in a story, which is pretty much it has to have a good score. It's very hard for me to really feel the moment of a show when the music is either non-existent or bad. But there's really good times where you don't want any music and you want just like the inflection in the voice. Like the voice acting has to be good. Number one. That's one of the main issues as to why I can't really get into subbed anime, because it's very important to me when I'm deciding in terms of like a show, when I'm deciding if a show is going to make me feel anything, right? Because that's important, and that's kind of hard sometimes because a lot of times my brain just defaults to I know this is just fake, right? I know this is just fake. It's just people acting. It's not real. And then if I sit there and I'm not fully enveloped in the show, it's hard for me to really feel anything. And if I can't feel anything, I don't really like a show that much. That's one of the main issues is because like the more I watched of like the subbed anime, like I could understand and recognize the inflection a bit more to like really feel it, but still there's going to be something missing. And I also often find myself reading way more than just listening, and when that would happen, that would just lead to that would also lead to me just not being as into it, right? That would lead to me not being as into it. So that's why I do gravitate towards dub, as long as the dub voice acting is good. If the dub voice acting is good, I'm always gonna opt for dub. Although I do watch sub usually because I don't want it to get ruined. So I end up usually watching both, but I usually, not usually, 99% of the time will always prefer 99% of the time I will always prefer dubbed anime, for the reasons I mentioned before. So I watched pretty much just Dragon Ball, a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh, a little bit of Pokemon growing up, right? That's all I watched. And Dragon Ball, right around like when I was like ending school or ending watching the shows, I was watching Dragon Ball Super, or sorry, I was watching Dragon Ball Z, and it was the end of like the Boo arc. And I didn't really enjoy the Boo arc that much. It wasn't bad, but just like they played out the, is this person strong enough to beat Boo? No. Okay, well, what about this person? Okay, well, what about these people fused? Okay, well, what about this person with their special powers? Okay, well, what about this person with their special powers? Okay, well, what about if both of them with their special powers fused and then fought? No, okay, and they did that literally for like 70 straight episodes. I'm like, bro, I get it. He's strong, right?